welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at free legal advice in Hong Kong.
Wow.
So our source for this deep dive is an article by a Hong Kong lawyer, Mr. Choi, who has been providing free legal advice for quite a while.
Yeah.
So this deep dive is not just going to be like a list of resources.
Right.
We're actually going to get a feel for why this kind of help is so important in a place like Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, what's striking is how this kind of reflects a global trend. As people become more and more aware of their rights, the demand for legal help, naturally increases, but then the cost can be a huge roadblock, especially in a city like Hong Kong, which is known for its high cost of living.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when you need medical care, but you can't afford to see a doctor.
Exactly.
It's really a big problem.
Yeah.
So how does Hong Kong tackle this?
Well, the article mentions that in 2013, the Hong Kong Law Society set up a free legal advice hotline.
Oh.
So it was an attempt to both educate the public and encourage lawyers to actually, contribute their skills.
That's great. That's a good start. Yeah. But is a hotline really enough to meet the demand in a city as busy and as bustling as Hong Kong?
That's a great question. And the article points out that there's still a significant gap. Like the government, their free legal advice service, it has a waiting list of 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
For just a 30-minute consultation.
8 weeks.
Yeah. And that's just one avenue. There are also programs that are run by district counselors and community groups. But, these long wait times, they mean that people might just give up.
Yeah.
Or end up representing themselves in court without the proper knowledge. And that ends up, putting a strain on the system.
Yeah. 8 weeks is a long time to wait.
Exactly.
When you're facing a legal issue, I can only imagine the stress that must cause.
Absolutely.
So the article also mentions this interesting TARP method. What's that all about?
Yeah. So this is actually a tool that Choi Lawyer recommends to help people figure out, determine if they actually have a genuine legal issue before they even seek advice. Mm-hmm. And it helps them to kind of organize their thoughts.
I see.
So TARP stands for Thing, Action, Relief, and People.
Okay, so let's break this down for our listeners so they can actually use this. So, thing, what's the issue at hand? Then action, what are the legal grounds for your concern?
Right.
So is it a breach of contract? Is it negligence? Relief? What outcome are you hoping for? And finally, people, who are the key players involved.
Precisely. What I find so fascinating about this is that this seemingly simple framework can be so empowering.
Yeah.
It gives people a starting point, a way to kind of approach their legal concerns with a little bit more clarity and a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, it's like having a roadmap instead of just wandering around lost.
Exactly.
So tell us about Choi Lawyer. The article mentions that they've been doing free consultations online, over the phone, and even via WhatsApp for over 13 years.
Wow. That's incredible.
It is incredible, isn't it?
It's quite remarkable when you think about the impact. Thousands of people helped just by this one person taking the initiative to bridge that gap.
That level of dedication is truly commendable.
Absolutely.
So what kind of legal areas do these consultations cover?
Well, the article lists quite a range, actually. Civil and criminal litigation.
Okay.
Including things like bail applications and pleas. And then there's family law, divorce, custody disputes, child support, and, division of assets during a divorce.
Right.
It really makes you think about the specific legal challenges that people in Hong Kong might be facing.
Family law issues in a dense city like Hong Kong, that definitely makes sense. Is there more?
Oh, yes. Employee injury claims, negligence claims, accident and personal injury claims, traffic accidents.
Wow.
It seems to cover quite a bit of everyday life where these legal issues might arise.
It's like a legal safety net for all these different situations.
Yeah.
So what stood out to you from this list?
There were a few things. So for example, Choi Lawyer also offers consultations on medical negligence claims.
Okay.
Probate and inheritance issues, even things like adverse possession, which has to do with land ownership.
Adverse possession?
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means.
So imagine that you've been taking care of a piece of land for years,
Yep.
Gardening, maybe even building something on it. You might actually be able to claim legal ownership even if you don't have the official title.
Oh, wow.
So it's complicated, but free legal advice can help you to understand if you have a valid claim.
That's fascinating. It's like finding out you've been sitting on a gold mine without even knowing it.
Exactly. And it highlights how important it is to actually know your rights. The article also goes on to list tenancy disputes, which are probably quite common in a city with limited space. And then things like defamation and injunctions.
Hold on. We're getting into some legal terms that might need some unpacking.
Yeah.
What exactly is an injunction?
So an injunction is basically a court order that can either stop someone from doing something or force them to take a specific action.
Okay.
And they're often used in situations where someone's rights are being violated.
So it's a way to protect yourself legally. That makes sense. What else is on this incredibly long list?
Well, there's also guidance on bankruptcy applications, which can be a really daunting process.
Yeah.
And the article also, sheds light on how lawyer fees and legal costs are actually determined.
Okay, that transparency is crucial.
Yeah.
Because facing a legal issue is stressful enough without worrying about hidden costs.
Absolutely.
But let's be realistic. Free legal advice can't solve every problem, can it?
You're absolutely right. As we discussed, wait times can be long, and these free consultations are usually quite brief.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a first aid kit for legal issues. It can help with these immediate needs.
Okay.
But for more complex cases, you might need more extensive support.
So it's a starting point.
Exactly.
A way to kind of understand your options and maybe get pointed in the right direction.
Exactly. And even with those limitations, it's still a crucial service, especially in a place like Hong Kong where navigating the legal system can be so complex.
That's right. It's all about empowering people to understand their rights and make informed decisions.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, what else did Choi Lawyer highlight in the article?
Before we move on to that, I want to touch on something else the article mentions, the distinction between being an employee and being self-employed in Hong Kong law.
Okay.
And this can have a big impact on things like employment rights and benefits.
Yeah, that's a good point. In a city with such a diverse workforce like Hong Kong, knowing your status under the law is essential.
Absolutely. And it's another area where free legal advice can really help to clarify things.
Yeah.
The article also talks about the process of getting compensation for work-related injuries.
Right.
Which is crucial for anyone's safety and well-being.
Yeah, it sounds like Choi Lawyer has thought of almost everything. What else did the article touch upon? It seems like we've only scratched the surface of all the legal issues that people in Hong Kong might face. What else did Choi Lawyer bring up?
Well, the article goes on to discuss traffic accidents and the kind of legal complexities around them. It even mentions things like careless driving and dangerous driving, and then this penalty points system.
Oh, interesting. Sounds like driving in Hong Kong comes with its own set of legal considerations.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like a reminder that even seemingly everyday activities can have some pretty significant legal implications.
Exactly. Knowing the law in those situations can really make a big difference in how you kind of navigate that legal process.
Yeah, it's like having a guidebook for a new city. It helps you understand the rules and avoid getting lost.
That's a great analogy. And it speaks to this broader mission of all of these free legal advice services to empower individuals, give them the knowledge, the tools to protect their own rights and interests.
Empowerment. That seems to be a real key theme here.
Yeah, absolutely.
The article also mentions property transactions.
Yeah.
And something called adverse possession came up again.
Yeah.
You explained it earlier, but could you give us a real-world example of how this might play out in Hong Kong?
Sure. So imagine a family has been living next to an empty lot for years. And they start, using the space to grow vegetables, maybe build a small shed for storage. Over time, if they've been, openly using and maintaining the land, they could potentially claim legal ownership through this idea of adverse possession, even if they don't have the official title.
So it's not just about knowing the law. It's about understanding how it applies to your specific situation.
Precisely. And the article also talks about tenancy disputes, which are probably super common in a densely populated city like Hong Kong, where space is, at a premium.
I can definitely see how disagreements between landlords and tenants could easily arise in that kind of environment.
Absolutely.
Knowing your rights as a tenant is probably crucial.
Absolutely. And then there's the issue of defamation, which is all about protecting your reputation from false statements. This is especially relevant in today's world with social media and the internet, where information spreads so quickly and can have lasting consequences.
Defamation's definitely a hot topic these days.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that freedom of speech also comes with responsibilities.
Exactly. And the article even touches upon injunctions, which we talked about earlier, these court orders that can prevent someone from doing something or force them to take specific actions. They're really powerful legal tools, and free legal advice can help people to understand when and how they might be used.
Yeah, it sounds like this article is really painting this comprehensive picture of the legal landscape in Hong Kong.
It is. And it just highlights how legal issues can touch upon so many aspects of our daily life, from housing to work to even our online interactions.
Yeah. It makes you realize that legal knowledge isn't just for lawyers, it's for everyone.
That's a great point. And it speaks to the importance of demystifying the law and making it more accessible to ordinary people.
So beyond Choi Lawyer and these organizations that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
What other resources are available in Hong Kong for people who are seeking, free legal information and support?
Yeah. Well, the article mentions a few interesting ones. For example, there's the Duty Lawyer Service, which provides free legal representation to individuals facing criminal charges who meet certain financial criteria.
Okay.
It's like a crucial safety net for vulnerable people who are trying to navigate the justice system.
That sounds like such a vital service.
Yeah.
For ensuring that everyone has access to legal representation regardless of their financial situation.
Absolutely. And then there are also several university-based legal clinics.
Oh, okay.
Where law students, under the guidance of experienced lawyers, actually provide free legal advice to the public.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
The students get valuable practical experience, and then the community benefits from their service.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's government agencies like the Home Affairs Department, which offers free legal consultation services, by appointment.
It's encouraging to see such a multi-pronged approach to addressing this need.
Yeah.
It demonstrates a real commitment to access to justice.
It does. And while there's always room for improvement, the efforts that are being made in Hong Kong can serve as a really valuable model for other places that are facing similar challenges.
Absolutely. It's inspiring to see how Hong Kong is tackling this issue. Now, shifting gears a bit, how is technology changing the way that people access legal information and advice? It's transforming so many areas of our lives, so I imagine it's having an impact on the legal field as well.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And Choi Lawyer's use of online platforms, phone consultations, and WhatsApp messaging is a perfect example of how technology can bridge that gap between legal professionals and those who are seeking help.
Yeah, it's all about meeting people where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. In today's digital world, many people feel way more comfortable reaching out online or through messaging apps than actually like scheduling a formal appointment.
Exactly. And technology can also help to overcome geographical barriers, allowing individuals in remote areas to connect with lawyers who might not be physically nearby.
Yeah.
It's about increasing convenience and accessibility and breaking down these traditional barriers.
It sounds like technology has the potential to really democratize legal knowledge and empower individuals in ways that weren't possible before.
I agree, but we also have to remember that technology is just a tool. It's the human element. It's the lawyers and the advisors, the individuals who are passionate about helping others. That makes the real difference.
That's a great point. Technology can enhance and facilitate access, but it's that human connection that truly matters.
Absolutely.
Now, as we delve deeper into the role of technology, what are some of the ethical considerations that kind of come into play when providing free legal advice online?
That's an important question. One key issue is confidentiality.
Right.
When providing legal advice online or through messaging apps, it's absolutely essential to make sure that sensitive information is protected and that communications are secure.
Data privacy and security are so paramount.
Yes.
Especially when you're dealing with these sensitive legal matters.
Absolutely. And then there's this question of competence.
Yeah.
So, lawyers who are offering free legal advice online, they need to be mindful of their ethical obligations to provide accurate and competent advice, even in like a brief consultation.
It's about maintaining professional standards and ethical conduct.
Yeah.
Even in this digital environment.
Exactly. And it's also really important to be upfront about the limitations of free legal advice,
Yeah.
Individuals who are seeking advice, they need to understand that a brief online consultation is not a substitute for comprehensive legal representation. It's about setting realistic expectations and making sure that people understand the scope of the advice that they're receiving.
Transparency is key.
Yeah.
But even with these limitations, free legal advice services, they still play such a vital role in promoting access to justice and empowering individuals to understand their rights and options.
You're absolutely right. And another important consideration is this issue of access and equity. While technology can definitely help to expand access to legal information, we need to think about how to reach individuals who might not have access to technology or who face other barriers to accessing these services.
Yeah.
We don't want to create like a new form of legal inequality.
That's a critical point.
Yeah.
It's about ensuring that the benefits of technology are accessible to everyone and not just a select few.
Exactly. These are complex issues that require really careful consideration as we continue to kind of explore this evolving landscape of free legal advice in the digital age.
Yeah, it's a fascinating and important conversation. And as we begin to wrap up our deep dive,
Okay.
I'm curious about the future of free legal advice, both in Hong Kong and beyond. What trends do you foresee emerging in the years to come?
That's a great question. I think we're going to see technology continuing to play an even more prominent role in how legal services are delivered. We might see things like, more innovative online platforms, AI-powered chatbots that are offering basic legal guidance, and virtual legal clinics that connect individuals with lawyers remotely.
It sounds like the future of legal advice is headed towards this more accessible and user-friendly model, which is exciting.
Yeah, I think so. But we should also remember that technology is just a tool.
Right.
Human element will always be at the heart of providing meaningful access to justice.
Well said. And on that note, we'll take a moment to kind of gather our thoughts before we delve into the final part of our deep dive, where we'll hear about how free legal advice is making a real difference in people's lives. So we've talked a lot about the systems and the structure of free legal advice in Hong Kong.
Right.
But I'm really eager to kind of hear about how this actually plays out in real life.
Yeah.
Can you share some examples of how this kind of help really impacts people?
Absolutely. Imagine a single mother in Hong Kong. She's struggling to make ends meet.
Okay.
She's facing eviction. She's feeling completely overwhelmed, and she doesn't know where to turn. Through a community center, she learns about a free legal advice hotline.
That's heartbreaking, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
a situation that so many can relate to.
Absolutely.
So what happens when she calls the hotline?
Well, a volunteer lawyer takes the time to listen to her story, understand her situation. They explain her rights as a tenant. They help her to draft a letter to her landlord. And they even connect her with resources for financial assistance. It might not magically solve all of her problems, but it's a crucial starting point.
Right. It gives her a sense of agency, some tools to navigate a system that can feel incredibly daunting, especially when you're already under so much pressure.
Exactly. Or picture an elderly man who's been injured in a slip and fall accident.
Okay.
He's worried about these mounting medical bills and unsure if he even has a valid claim.
Right.
Through a free legal consultation, he learns about personal injury law, gets advice on gathering evidence, and starts to understand his options for seeking compensation.
So it's not just about legal information. It's about providing guidance, support,
Right.
and a glimmer of hope in a very difficult situation.
Exactly. Here's another scenario. A young entrepreneur in Hong Kong is really excited to launch this small business, but is feeling completely lost in the legal aspects. They don't know about contracts, permits, intellectual property, all those kind of crucial details.
Right.
A free legal clinic can walk them through the basics, point them to helpful resources, and ensure that they start off on the right foot legally.
It's like preventative care for legal issues.
Yeah.
Helping people avoid potential pitfalls right from the get-go.
Exactly.
So do you have any insights into what motivates people like Choi Lawyer to dedicate so much time to this kind of work?
It's hard to say for sure without, speaking to them directly, but I think it speaks to a deep commitment to justice and a belief that everyone deserves access to legal help, regardless of their circumstances.
It's a powerful reminder that even small acts of service can have this ripple effect, empowering individuals and creating, a more fair society.
Right.
So while our deep dive has been focused on Hong Kong, this need for accessible legal advice is obviously a global issue.
Absolutely.
Legal empowerment shouldn't be a privilege. It should be a right.
Exactly. As we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listener with this final thought. Think about the role of legal empowerment in your own community. Are there similar services available?
Yeah.
And even more importantly, could you play a part in bridging that gap between legal knowledge and those who need it most?
That's a call to action I can definitely get behind. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredibly insightful deep dive into the world of free legal advice in Hong Kong. We hope you found it informative, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit empowering.
It was my pleasure. Until next time, stay curious and remember that knowledge is power.